Early mornings in Florida have a uniquely peaceful atmosphere. A thin layer of mist blankets the fields, while the first rays of sunlight filter through the pine trees and palm forests. But that quiet calm is quickly broken when Ethan and I discover fresh tracks stretching from the edge of the forest toward the livestock area. Large patches of ground have been rooted up, clumps of grass have been trampled, and new trails have appeared overnight. It is clear that the feral hogs have moved closer to the farm than ever before. We begin setting up monitoring points along the routes where fresh signs are most frequently found. Once everything is in place, we continue moving to other locations to expand our observation area. Most of the day is spent walking through pine forests, crossing open grasslands, and constantly comparing the map with the signs we find on the ground. The work may seem repetitive, but every step helps us better understand how the feral hogs use this landscape. By early afternoon, we return to check the first monitoring point. Even from a distance, it is obvious that there has been plenty of new activity. Freshly disturbed soil, countless overlapping tracks, and well-defined trails show that a large group has passed through the area over several hours. I cannot hide my excitement because our initial predictions have finally been confirmed by real evidence. It proves that this area is indeed an important travel corridor connecting the forest and the farm. The next monitoring point brings an even bigger surprise. The footage collected during the day shows a very large sounder of feral hogs appearing almost at the same time. I stand silently for a few moments, staring at the recordings before looking back at the surrounding landscape. Only then do I truly realize the scale of their nighttime activity. My first reaction is surprise, but is quickly followed by concern. If such a large group regularly enters this area, the pasture and the food supply intended for the livestock will certainly face greater pressure in the near future. Leaving the forest behind, we head to a monitoring point beside the farm's small water reservoir. Many kinds of wildlife visit this spot, especially during hot weather. This time, however, the results are fairly modest. The recordings show much less activity than we expected. Ethan suggests that the feral hogs may have shifted toward the denser forest after the previous night's rain. Although the results are not remarkable, quiet locations like this help us better understand how their movement patterns change over time. The next monitoring point, located along the edge of the pine forest, gives us a similar impression. At first, I feel slightly disappointed because there are not many fresh signs. But after comparing the data with records from previous weeks, we realize that the feral hogs seem to have shifted their main activity toward areas with more abundant food sources. It is a reminder that nature is always changing, and monitoring is only meaningful when it is carried out consistently rather than relying on a single observation. As the sun gradually disappears behind the rows of pine trees, we arrive at an open clearing between two sections of forest. This location has long been considered highly promising because several game trails intersect here. Just as we expected, the evening data shows that the area becomes much more active as daylight fades. The atmosphere is both quiet and filled with anticipation. I realize that most feral hog activity truly begins only after people have left the area. The final monitoring point brings our day's work to a close as darkness settles over the entire farm. After finishing our notes and comparing data from every location, we sit down to review the map of the area. The zones with heavy activity, the unexpectedly quiet spots, and the newly established travel routes gradually become much clearer. As we head home late that night, I carry a mixture of exhaustion and excitement. Every day in the field reminds us that nature is constantly changing, and only through patience and continuous observation can we better understand how wildlife adapts to its environment and find effective ways to reduce conflicts between wild animals and human activities.
Installing the monitoring equipment. Before setting any traps, we installed a camera monitoring system to accurately assess the size of the herd and their movement patterns. Infrared cameras were securely mounted, recording day and night and activating automatically whenever motion was detected. In addition, cellular trail cameras allowed us to receive images in real time. This made it possible to identify the right moment to intervene and, crucially, avoid catching only a single animal. One of the most common mistakes in wild boar control, often leading to ineffective results and making the remaining herd even more wary. Setting up the boar trap. Based on the data collected, we proceeded to install a drop trap, a vertically falling trap widely regarded as one of the most effective methods for capturing an entire herd at the same time. The trap frame is built from heavy-duty steel panels and firmly anchored to ensure safety and stability when it drops. A remote activation system allows the trap to be triggered at the exact right moment, only when the cameras confirm that the entire herd is inside. This approach minimizes panic and prevents animals from escaping, which is critical in effective wild boar control. The bait used is typically corn or fermented grain, highly attractive to wild boar. Wild boar are intelligent and powerful animals, so I came up with a deliberate strategy, feeding them the same bait they love for several consecutive days. This creates a routine for the entire herd, lowers their guard, and builds familiarity with the trap site. Only after fully understanding their movement patterns, habits, and accurately identifying the timing of their appearance did we take action. Trap. After many nights of monitoring, the herd of wild boar kept returning to the same area, devouring the bait, tearing up the ground, then disappearing without a trace. Instead of rushing to set the trap, we chose patience. With wild boar, haste almost always leads to failure. We begin with pre-baiting, spreading bait and setting up monitoring cameras. The footage showed the herd arriving consistently, but there were always a few individuals hanging back, watching from the outside. That was a clear signal. It wasn't time to set the trap yet. Only when the entire herd moved in together, when their guard was fully down, were we ready for the next step. The Boar Buster trap was installed right at the familiar site, paired with a remote trigger to give us full control over the timing. When the camera feed confirmed that the whole herd was neatly inside, we didn't hesitate for a single second. The trap was activated. 2 successful control operations at the same location proved one thing clearly. When the process is done right, the results can be sustained over time. The neighborhood returned to peace, damage dropped significantly, and residents no longer had to live in fear night after night. This is not just a story about catching wild boar. It's about responsibility to the community, about safety, and about taking control of a situation rather than constantly chasing after the consequences. Transportation. After the operation concluded, wild boar were transported in specialized containment cages, ensuring safety and full compliance with state regulations. Every step of the process was carried out with care, minimizing risks to both people and the surrounding residential areas. All captured boar were removed from the trapping zone and handled in accordance with state and local government regulations. The immediate threat was eliminated. The area returned to a temporary state of calm, and the team's efforts resulted in outcomes that truly reflected the work put in.
Come on now. Come on now.
Wild boar control is not a matter of a single day or a one-time operation. It is a long-term process aimed at protecting communities, land, and public safety. The boar may return, but with the right approach, coordination, and disciplined decision-making, we can stay ahead of the situation rather than constantly reacting to its consequences. This is a shared responsibility, and it is how a community protects itself.
Wild hogs caught in traps before, but I had never seen anything like that morning. The sound of steel wire pulled tight, the sound of dirt being torn up, that deep, heavy roar echoing through one corner of the woods. The hogs were thrashing hard, desperately trying to break out of the traps I had set earlier. The whole net system was shaking violently, and it all started because of one destroyed field. Last week, I went back to my hometown to visit my grandmother. As soon as I stepped into the yard, she didn't say much. She just quietly pointed toward the cornfield behind the house. I looked over. Half the field was ripped apart. Corn stalks were snapped flat, roots torn out, and the ground looked like it had been churned by a tiller. But nobody runs farm equipment out here at night. There was only one thing that could have done this. Wild hogs. And not just one or two. The neighbors said the hogs had been coming back for weeks. They tried fencing the field. They tried standing watch at night with torches. Some even took turns sleeping in the field shack. But these hogs weren't afraid of people anymore. They came in late. They tore through everything fast. And they vanished before sunrise. One of the older hunters in the village told me, "This sounder has a smart lead boar. He's the one guiding them. If we don't stop them now, this season's a total loss." That same morning, David, a few men from the village, and I decided we had to act immediately. This was going to be a large-scale operation, so we split into smaller teams. Following the hog tracks from the cornfield, we found the perfect location to set the traps. We had already brought in all the gear. This time, we decided to use net traps. Everyone took a job. One team drove heavy steel posts into the ground to lock down the trap positions. Another team unrolled thick coils of netting we had prepared ahead of time. Others stretched and tied the net. Every section had to be pulled tight and fastened carefully to the steel posts. It looked simple, but if even one part was off, the whole trap could fail. By the time the last net panel was up, the woods had gone completely silent. As soon as darkness settled in, the forest changed. The air felt heavy, like the whole place knew something was about to happen. We checked the traps through the cameras. One by one, the hogs started showing up, but I didn't expect that many. They moved slowly into the net trap, not sensing a thing. Then one hog suddenly noticed something was wrong and tried to bolt, and everything exploded into chaos. The net snapped tight like someone yanked it with full force. My heart started pounding. A big sounder had hit the net, more hogs than I could count at first. They thrashed hard, slamming into the mesh and making the whole section shake. And before I could even process that success, David yelled from the side. I turned to the screen. His net was buckling too. We hadn't even had time to say a word to each other when another loud crash echoed up from the valley below. I was pumped. It wasn't just one trap working. The whole trap system was going off, one after another. Net walls bulged in the dark. Everywhere, you could hear thrashing. Deep grunts. The sound of the woods coming alive. It was a strange feeling, part adrenaline, part excitement. We split up and ran to each trap point. Flashlights swept through the trees. Everywhere we looked, nets were shaking. Everywhere we looked, we had a catch. And I knew it. That night belonged to the net traps. After one long, tense night, we headed back to the trap sites at first light. Up close, that's when I really saw how big they were. Thick shoulders, scarred snouts, heavy muscle rolling under coarse hair. Looking at them, I felt two things at once: relief and a chill down my spine. These weren't just crop-raiding animals. They were survivors of the wild. And every one of them had to be handled humanely, following local rules and regulations, even after all the damage they had caused to the farmers here. On the way back, one of the hunters behind us suddenly stopped. He pointed at the ground near the edge of the trail. Another track, bigger, deeper. It meant the lead boar was still out there. I turned and looked back into the woods. If he was right, then this hunt had only just begun.